Now when we're working on a carpeted floor, we want to drop sheet everything. Because we're working on the base, we don't have to drop sheet furniture and what have you, but we definitely have to protect our carpet. And as you can see, the paint can is pretty full. Now another tip is we want to transfer a little bit of paint into a cut-in can, and if we're working with stain, the same rule applies. In case we do have a spill, the damage will be minimized and the cleanup will be easier. We'll just transfer a little bit of paint over into the cut can. All you really need is half an inch or so. We're just doing a small section of trim. Just like that. Then we put our lid back on the can. Use at a later time. Now before we get into the paint demonstration, I should mention that this video was in response to a comment that was made by another YouTuber. And that was, how do you paint the trim against a carpet? And so there's several ways that we can approach this small project. The first way is by being very careful as we cut down toward the carpet. And if we're using the same color paint, we don't really have to go right down to the flooring surface. Secondly, we can use a paint guard. This is probably the fastest way to go if we have to go right down, cover the complete baseboard because it's a new color or the paint has really deteriorated that badly. The third way is by taping it. And even though tape is down, we want to be just using that as a guide, not relying on it too heavily, because the paint has a tendency to sneak or bleed down underneath and can still mark the carpet. So I'll demonstrate how we do these things, and you can decide which one you feel more comfortable with. So we're just going to take a little bit of paint on our brush. You can see that we just dipped the brush in to coat the bottom third of the bristles. So you just dip it in, tap it off on the side, give it a little twist as you bring it out of the bucket, and then when it's fully loaded we want to put it onto the heavy part of the baseboard and just spread it like that, and then we can work our way up. And we want to focus on this top edge. Once we've got some of the paint off, once it's manageable, so we paint that top edge. And then we paint the molding. Now our brush is getting a little drier, so we head down toward the carpet. And all we really need to do is get down to about 1/8 of an inch away. Now this works of course if it's the same color. If it's that much of a difference in color, we're going to have to go right down. So that's when we use our next tool, which is the paint guard. Here's a couple of examples of paint guards that you might see in the store. And so they're pretty self-explanatory. You just place them down between the carpet and the base, and the same rule applies. Put your paint down into the middle of the baseboard and work up. And when your paint is manageable, focus on the narrow part first, or the edge if you will, and work your way down. And again, we want to be fairly dry when we approach the carpet, because the paint has a tendency to bleed. or sneak under things with it being a liquid, and that's the result. Then our third thing we can do in our process is use masking tape, and we have the green painter's tape. You could use the blue, and you want to make sure that when you put whatever tape you use, when you put it down, that you can remove it and it won't take a piece of the carpet away with it. To apply our tape, we want to put the leading edge to the surface of the baseboard, push the tape in toward the baseboard on the floor, and then push it down so that the edge goes under the baseboard like so. And then you're ready to paint. Same rule applies. Heaviest amount of paint in the middle, work up. The narrow surface. When the brush is a bit drier, we can go down. And I mean, if the paint touches the tape, so be it. But we certainly don't want to put a lot of pressure down on it, and we don't want to have the brush too wet as we paint that bottom part of the base. And then before the paint completely dries, we want to lift off the tape, and there you have the result. If you enjoyed that video, it was in response to a comment from another YouTuber. So if you have comments or questions, feel free to drop us a line and we'll try to help you out. Maybe make a video, demonstrate how it can be done. So this has been Craig, the Muskoka painter, helping you take the paint out of painting.